Mouthwashing starts off with you, the player, being thrown into the role of what appears to be a suicidal pilot on a ship, intentionally crashing the ship. From this moment forward, you are strung along a completely unreliable narrative, one that keeps you guessing at all times what led to the sequence of events that you witness unfold in the beginning. At every step of the way, making you question everything, but making you also think that you finally have the answers, until you realize you don't have any. You play as Jimmy, who's taken the role as captain after the previous captain, Curly, decided to crash the ship into an asteroid. Your crew members are Anya, the nurse of the ship, Swansea, the mechanic of the ship, and Daisuke, the intern to Swansea. Jimmy is or was the co-pilot of the ship. However, given the current condition that Curly is in following the crash, Jimmy has been given the role as leader. But he isn't really given the role, nor does anyone really vote him into it. Jimmy just takes the title as captain, and nobody objects. Within the first moments of the game, we begin to learn about our characters and the types of people they are. Or at least, the types of people they are through the eyes of Jimmy. Your first task is to obtain the code scanner, but if you just obtain it without going to Anya first, you'll be barred from continuing until you do so. Anya is incapable of feeding Curly his pain medication, despite being a nurse, stating that the sounds make her nauseous. Jimmy is very passive-aggressive towards Anya as he talks to her, and when she refuses to give Curly his medicine, Jimmy scolds her, telling her that someone should be worth their title. Comments like these about another character are often ones that you find yourself possibly agreeing with, given you don't yet have an understanding of the characters you're interacting with outside of what you see through the eyes of Jimmy. This is all intentional. From the beginning cutscene to the end of the game, the narrative is told in an unreliable way that shifts to continue making you see characters differently from who and what they are. Once you finally open the storage room, you are shifted into a new cutscene where Anya gives a psych eval to Curly. The dynamic between Curly and Anya are very different compared to Anya and Jimmy. Curly jokes almost flirtatiously with Anya, as if the two of them are closer than just co-workers. Anya almost reciprocates this. Jimmy, on the other hand, treats Anya like she's a useless child that he wants nothing to do with as he talks to her, scolding her and often reminding her of how useless he sees her, and how he sees her as less than him. Anya seems almost as if she is trying hard to be friendly with him, as if walking on eggshells with him were she to speak up against him, an important part to remember going forward. Anya states that she would rather not do Jimmy's psych eval, and Curly says that he'll do it for her. This reveals to us that Curly and Jimmy have known each other for a long time, a friendship going beyond their days as co-workers. This is apparent in the way that they speak to each other. Daisuke finds himself stuck in foam as Swansea berates him, questioning how it is he could have ended up stuck with him, incapable of saving him without going through Curly first. A theme that plays some importance later on. After saving Daisuke from the foam, blood-red water flowing, ladders cut halfway, bent and misshapen, warning signs blare as you wander aimlessly with no direction and no end in sight, before the sun begins to rise up and engulf the scene before. Pure blinding white takes over and a single door is placed in front of you. Only one way for you to go. To me, this scene represents Curly, his own view of himself and his place as captain. He says so himself after giving Jimmy a psych eval. The endless halls he walks down, the seemingly infinite void he's forced to walk, symbolizing how he feels there is no end in sight to his role as captain, just because he's good at it, and that he's been successful. Worried that this will be all he is, and all he'll ever be. The warning signs are there to signify that he wishes to be done with it, to move on to something new, only realizing that doing so could be a risk, that he could put others in harm's way, even if it's something that he might be bad at. The broken metal ladders are there to represent how he has reached the highest rung of the ladder, and that maybe taking that risk could lead him to failing miserably, and that maybe trying to get on a new one would cause him a failure he hasn't known for as long as he's been on this one. He awakens from this, realizing that maybe, just maybe, it's worth it to continue down this path, a moment of clarity. Even if it might seem endless at first, maybe it's worth it to stay on the same path. From this, we even gather more about Jimmy, how he feels as if he will never reach that top rung of the ladder, how he'll continue climbing and climbing, never feeling the success that he pines for. This becomes apparent in the way that Jimmy begins to portray himself like he is the new captain. But most importantly is when Curly asks Jimmy how things are off the record. He responds with how he likes it, how we're in control. The wording of which is meant to show how Jimmy has a power trip. He believes that he and Curly are at the top, above everyone else. Even more, they're away from other human beings. Out in the vastness of space, they have freedom to do as they please. In his mind. Back to the dream sequence where Curly walks through warning signs and demolished ladders. This scene being placed near the beginning is a masterful act of manipulation and storytelling by the writers to make you believe that in reality, Curly has thoughts of crashing the ship. Maybe the sun representing what his plans to crash into might have been, or to represent an explosion happening in relation to his said plan. This is done in order to create an idea in the back of your head that something isn't right with Curly, and that he was, in fact, the one who decided to crash the ship. Even the bizarreness of the dream sequence mirrors that of the one we see in the opening. The endless halls and weird imagery. As far as we've seen, Jimmy hasn't had something like that occur to him. We flash back to the present. 2 months after the crash, the whole crew scrounging for more supplies to survive off of, looking through the boxes of the cargo they were meant to carry. They find it was all just mouthwash, nothing for them to really survive off of, but at least something to take the edge off, if you ask Swansea. Years of sobriety down the drain, nothing left to do as you've got nothing left anyways. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Right? Curly breaks the news to his team that they will be let go after they complete their run. News that completely ruins the mood of the birthday party being thrown for you as a surprise. When did they tell you?
Earlier this week. I was instructed to wait until we're closer to the haul destination. But I can't keep something like this from you all. So, I guess you got what you wanted, without the guilt. Jim, if I had known, I can go back to my, how'd you put it, struggle of a life. Anya never got into medical school because she's, well, let's be real. And how many employment years Swansea got left in him? Daisuke, he'll be fine. Mommy and Daddy have him covered. But you? Headed for bigger and better, right? I'm working on my life being a place I don't have to fucking escape. That's what I was trying to tell you, nothing more. We're the ones you're trying to escape. Leave the dirt behind now that your boots are clean. That's not what I meant. It is what you meant. You just couldn't frame it to yourself in a way that kept you as the hero. Abandon the crew, but remain the model captain.
Jimmy continues to shove down everyone's throat that Curly intends to abandon them, to move on from this life as freighter captain and find something better, completely twisting his own words against him out of anger. A manipulative, spiteful person is all that Jimmy is. And in this scene it shows. He can't help from portraying his own friend as an enemy to the team. As Curly screams out in pain, we search for Anya to see if she's given Curly his medicine. We find Anya and Swansea talking, while Swansea clutches on to an axe given to him earlier by Curly. We don't question it, only locking eyes on Anya, asking if she gave him his meds, while barely even paying any attention to the fact that she was crying prior to him walking in, telling her that she needs to keep it together instead of asking if she's even okay, or even attempting to comfort her in any way. showing how cold Jimmy is towards Anya. Swansea chimes in that he's keeping it together, because it's clear to even Swansea that Jimmy doesn't really care about how Anya feels. When we hear Jimmy feeding Curly his medicine this time, we hear in the background what sounds to be Jimmy beating up Curly in the process, letting out his frustration wrongfully onto Curly.
Come on, stop with the noise. Damn it. I know what everyone's thinking. The way they look at me. What could I even say? And then, what would she do? Damn it. Here we are now. Me in the driver's seat. Oh yeah, thanks for that. Open up. I hope these make you feel fucking better.
Frustration that everyone looks down on him when the entire time he wanted to be looked up to. Just like Curly, but in a selfish and disgusting way. He blames Curly for leaving him to be the one in the driver's seat, being the captain of everyone else, a role that has done nothing but make him increasingly more and more paranoid of those around him. Curly sits across from us, a cake between the two. Light shines down on Curly, illuminating him against a backdrop of destruction, chaos, and decay.
We should have some. Why? It's mediocre at best, obviously. Sometimes you can only get the subpar stuff. That's what makes the really good stuff good, right? Why bother? Hey, we all try to escape. It didn't work for any of us. I've thought many times, is this what peace feels like? Yeah. Is it good enough? If I'm being real, certainly isn't the best. So all I can do is try to make my life one I'm not trying to run from all the time. Sometimes I'll be promoted, buy a house, fall in love. But other times, I'll just have some awful fucking cake with my friend. Right now, that sounds pretty brilliant, yeah? So, if you'll do the honors.
Curly talks about how everyone has tried endlessly to escape the routine of a job that seems almost endless. Working a job from sunrise to sunset, from your birth to your death, never once being able to enjoy your life for what it's worth. Sifting through the mediocrity of life to find joy in those tiny little moments that feel like we're more than that feel like they're the best you can get. And you ask yourself if this is what it means to find peace. Wondering if it's even good enough, knowing deep down that it's not the best, knowing deep down that you're stuck in an endless cycle where all you can do is make your life one worth living. But there are moments that sound great, like sitting down with a friend and enjoying some awful fucking cake. Daisuke lies sprawled on the floor, mouthwash in hand. Desperation has taken him over. He followed in Swansea's footsteps. He laments how he used to be a screw-up from what his mother would tell him. He never knew what he wanted to be, but he knew that he wanted to be something, that he was never good at anything. At the very least, he wanted to make his parents proud. Not a single person on this ship is perfect. Not a single person here is without their flaws. But Daisuke was always trying to be someone. Always trying to make a name for himself, despite his own screw-ups and his lack of skill. Something that Jimmy uses to his own advantage, and Daisuke's disadvantage later on. Anya asks you to do her a favor, and to get a hold of the axe from Swansea, to use it to get rid of the foam blocking the medicine cabinet located outside of the med bay. When you get to it for her, she asks you to once again give Curly his medicine. Jimmy is angered by this, saying that everyone on the ship is making him do menial, stupid, useless tasks that he would rather not do. But he has to, because he's the captain, a role that he put himself into, but treating it as if others put him in that position. All he's trying to do is fix things, fix 99% of the problems, while ignoring the 1%. The problem he knows he can't fix, the bacteria eating away at his relationship with the team, The 1% that he will never, ever look at. Because to him, it doesn't exist. It never happened. It's not a problem. Jimmy will fix all of it. All of the problems he sees, but only for himself and for Curly. He'll make Curly a captain again. He'll make sure Curly makes it out of this alive before anyone else does. Mouthwash. It says that it kills 99% of bacteria. It takes care of it. You don't need to do anything else. It will take care of it. Anya says she looks at the nighttime sky, talks about how there's just one dead pixel that she can't help but look away from. In the back of her mind, it's always there. 99% of the screen, fine. But that one dead pixel always destroying the illusion that all is perfect. The opposite, sitting beside her, not seeing that one dead pixel, ignoring it, because he can only see the bigger picture. That's all he's used to. Even if 1% of the germs still live on, Curly still thinks that everything will be okay. 99% is, in Curly's eyes, 100%. Anya locks herself inside the medical room with Curly, speaking about how our worst moments don't define us, don't make us beyond repair. She tells Jimmy that he was right, and that she's about to do what he told her she should have done in the first place. Something that only Jimmy understands. Jimmy decides that he and Daisuke are the only two who could save Anya and Curly. At least, that's what Jimmy tells Daisuke, knowing that if he does this, he'll make a name for himself. He'll get what he finally wanted. But as we cut past this scene, we see the aftermath flash in front of our eyes. An injured Daisuke bleeding out. Our mission to find some disinfectant to help stop the bleeding. Jimmy repeating that he can fix it. That he can fix Daisuke. That's all he ever says. That's all he repeats to himself. That he can fix it. Only he can fix it. It's everyone else's fault that things have gone to shit. Not his. And he has to fix everything, while others stand around and turn it all to shit. You're incapable of progressing from this point forward without using the code scanner. A tombstone with a single hibiscus flower rests on the ground in front of the cargo bay. This flower represents Daisuke. It is meant to represent friendship and love. Using the code scanner, the tombstone disappears, revealing blood trailing down an endless flight of stairs. Following the trail, you're met with
a blind beast, aimless and restless. You can't run from it.
Any sudden loud movement can trigger a gigantic horse head to descend from above, loudly sniffing for you, incapable of seeing you, but only listening for you to move again. The blood trail you follow is likely the one left from Daisuke, as he crawled out of the vent that you let him climb through that has led to his death. The horse meant to represent death itself, something you can't run from. It's inevitable. But it also represents Jimmy's incapability to face his own fears of the repercussions of his own actions, to take responsibility, to hold himself accountable. He only continues to run from it, putting the blame on others when it's his own fault. He is aimless and restless, destroying all bridges that stand in his path, running from his own responsibility. Curly tries to make his life one he isn't running from, pretending like he is facing it all head on as he goes. Jimmy just runs away from everything, finding every which way to excuse it as someone else's fault. Blind, aimless, and restless. But it still catches up to him in the end. You and Daisuke devise a plan to knock out Swansea in order to get to the vent, so that they can save Curly and save Anya. Jimmy devises a plan. He intends to knock him out using a cocktail, maybe similar to what he did to Anya. Many people have discussed that Swansea's keychain is a dead goose. However, it is actually a swan on his keychain, a take on his name, Swansea. Swans are a symbol of wisdom. Swansea is, after all, the wisest of the group. Jimmy and Daisuke find out that there was never any foam in the room, or at least not to the extent that Swansea claimed there to be. There was just one cryopod left untouched by all of the foam. Jimmy tells Daisuke that Swansea kept everyone away from the cryopod in order to keep it all to himself. while he watched everyone else on the ship slowly die. Daisuke climbs into the vent in order to get into medical. From what you're able to hear, Daisuke probably hit a power line while climbing up and shut off some form of main power to the ship, enough to wound him, as we saw previously. Anya stole the gun from the cockpit locker, the captain's gun, and she hid it away. Curly, angry but more or less worried, tries to figure out where Anya hid the gun, realizing that, while she gave out psych evals and made sure everyone was okay, nobody really ever checked in on her. Not even the captain whose job it is to do so. She breaks the news to Curly that she's pregnant, and that she's already told them who the father is, and how it happened. Through little hints she's dropped without directly telling him, and Curly pieces it together. So do we. Telling her that he'll handle it. He's known Jimmy the longest. You learn in this instance that Jimmy, the character you've been playing up until now, took advantage of Anya, sexually assaulting her and then pretending like it never happened. Anya has been trying since it happened to look past it. Our worst moments don't define us. Something repeated by Jimmy, Curly, and Anya. Started by Curly, someone who seeks out the best in people, even in their worst. Anya respected Curly for this. She always tried her hardest to follow that path, even when it hurt her to do so. She wasn't capable of giving Curly his medicine because the thought of forcing the medicine down his throat reminds her of how Jimmy took advantage of her, forcing himself onto her. That's why she can't bring herself to do it and relies on Jimmy, even if reluctantly. The cocktail we make for Swansea probably being something that Jimmy has done before. The locks on the medical doors, but not on the sleeping quarters, being the way that Jimmy could get in. Anya dropped hints for you every step of the way, but our narrator, Jimmy, continued to obstruct your vision from who the true villain was all along. Even if you could slowly start to see his true colors, this is where you fully understand beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jimmy is a monster. A manipulative, vile creature. And you've been playing him this entire time. Anya didn't steal the gun for herself. She stole it to keep it from him using it against her. Maybe a threat that he used against her in order to get his way. Or maybe a fear of hers, if he were to find out. Either way, Anya knows that he could be a threat to her and maybe others were he to get his hands on the gun. Curly continues to dismiss Anya's true pain. I'll talk to him. We can fix this. Are things he says, ignoring that for once, you can't fix 100% of the problem. Daisuke's death is representative of the death of innocence. The death of your own ability to play this game so blindly without knowing the true, deeper, darker secrets that's been easing its way into the scene. Daisuke, the ray of sunshine, the peacekeeper, the happy-go-lucky kid with a glimmer in his eye and a bright future ahead of him, as he runs from all his fuck-ups in life. Ripped away from the crew from a mistake that could have been prevented had Jimmy never been so selfish. Never put everyone in harm's way for his own insecurities and fears. And Jimmy sits and watches as not only does Swansea monologue to Daisuke, but he deals the final blow, hesitating before doing so. Jimmy sits like a deer in the headlights, unmoving, incapable of stopping Swansea despite having plenty of opportunity to do so. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't move an inch. Deranged and delusional still, Jimmy gets mad at Swansea, claiming he's keeping the cryopod open all for himself, all while running around lying to Anya or telling her all sorts of things. And when Swansea brings up that it was actually Anya who talked to him, Jimmy says nothing. It goes against what narrative he's pushing. It goes against his own delusions that he tells himself in order to continue playing the hero in his head. Even Daisuke's death he blames on Swansea, telling him that they wouldn't have had to knock out Swansea if he had just given him the key in the first place or helped them get into the vent. But all of this wouldn't have ever happened to begin with if Jimmy just took responsibility. Jimmy goes to retrieve the gun from where Anya hid it, beneath Curly, and as you take it out, Curly begins to laugh. At this point, he knows that Anya was right all along, that you were a terrible monster. He finally accepts that this is, in a twisted sort of way, his own fault. He never properly dealt with you because all he ever did was see the good in you. Because you were his friend. He couldn't ever for one moment accept that you were a monster, even when he was faced with that awful truth. But the moment you grab that gun, the gun you are going to use, not to protect yourself, but to ensure you're the only one left alive, it all becomes clear to him. And now he's forced to watch his own mistake unfold in front of him, helpless, unable to move or do anything. Just sit and laugh. When we flash back, we see Anya in the medical bay, by the bed where Curly is found throughout most of the game, kneeling beside it, looking directly at where it is she hid the gun. She tells Curly that she told Jimmy about her pregnancy. She makes it seem like he just walked away and didn't say anything. But from where she is, and from what we learned prior in the game, he told her to kill herself, to take her own life, to take care of it. That's why she kneels beside the location of the hidden gun. She wanted to do as he said, but she isn't capable without the password. That's why later, she finally does it. The pain of having to be alongside your abuser while you attempt to pretend nothing happened as he continues to belittle you and treat you like trash, ignoring your pain and making things worse for you, while everything goes to shit around you. It's all unbearable. She says so herself, that Jimmy was right. She should have done what he told her all along. So she does. But even when she does so, Jimmy blocks it out. Bigger fish to fry, other things to deal with, not a moment of care or grief spent on her now that she's gone. He doesn't even acknowledge her after she's gone. Curly once again says that he'll fix it. He'll talk to Jimmy. But when he does, Jimmy tells him that he won't be the only one responsible for what happened. That wonderful reputation that Curly once held in everyone's eyes as the great and almighty leader will perish and crumble beneath his feet. He'll be held responsible too for what happened on this ship because of Jimmy. He'll be seen as a monster. So there's only one way for things to be fixed, and Jimmy will handle it. Jimmy will fix it. He always does. When you run towards the cockpit, you can see Jimmy on the floor having a panic attack, regretting immediately what he's done. In an act of anger, he put everyone's lives in jeopardy, including his own. He realizes his mistake, and he crumbles there on the ground, shaking his head. It's all over. His biggest fuck-up. And maybe, for just 1 second, he actually admits that he fucked up. Not verbally, but in his body language. Jimmy talks about how Curly's lowest rung of his ladder is their highest, continuing his own delusions that Curly always thought of himself as better than everyone, always looking down on others. The great Captain Curly. For years, that's all Jimmy has ever heard. That Curly is better in every way, shape, or form. Slowly believing that he could never be as good as him. Probably something that he's heard throughout his entire life. Something that he's struggled with daily. People telling him that he should be like Curly. He should be better than who he is right now. But now, Curly's on the same level as they are. On the same playing field. Disheveled, bloodied, literally and metaphorically half of the man he used to be. Mocking how Curly told him earlier that he believes in him. Whether it's there on the ship or somewhere else on Earth. Believing in him even when he's become a broken man. Reduced to nothing. That's how Jimmy saw Curly, always looking down on him. Side note, a bunch of people believe that this is representative of how many people often view themselves, that they have to metaphorically kick down those above them in order to stand a chance at surviving, eat the rich. A literal sense in this game, though I can't see the developers meaning that in this. I just see people relating it to this scene. I don't really agree. As you walk through the vents, you see a door to a cryopod lying on the floor, busted from the rest of the pod, and atop a toolbox cabinet, 2 Sorry game pieces sit. One green, one pink. The green one standing up as the pink one is knocked over. But there's another pink piece on the floor beside it. Each colored piece representing one of the members of the crew. Green representing Jimmy, and pink representing Daisuke. A pink hibiscus flower once again lying on the floor surrounded by blood, right where Daisuke once stood. The vents you walk through representing the same vents you forced Daisuke to climb through that cost him his own life. You can't turn back. You have to take responsibility. You have to face your own mistakes. You literally can't look back, not once. You have to face forward. And at the end of the vents, you fall into a room where Swansea sits tied up in a chair and the gun lies on the floor. And when you pull the trigger, you're faced with a chase sequence through a cemetery. In the center of it all, a resting place for Daisuke. Even when you think that you hear where Swansea is coming from, he will still find a way to surprise you from somewhere else. Eventually, you will kill him, triggering Swansea's final monologue.
I have something to say. So shut the fuck up and listen. I spent 13 years half cut up to my eyeballs. Drunk, to put it mildly. Then suddenly, I saw it. A street light shining in my face. 500 gigawatts of the power of God. A vision of my bloated body found in some ditch. It scared me straight, so I got a collared shirt, mortgage, and a credit card. All the things that make a good man. I hoped I could raise my children to be better than their old man. I wanted to believe I was never one setback away from my worst self. But the truth is, discipline, drive, routine, the endless fucking desperation to get shit done. A loving wife, great kids, sobriety. I'm telling you, accomplishments I'd been chasing all my life. Never felt as good as I expected when I crossed the finish line. So now that we're at the end, taking inventory, those nights spinning out of my head, sinking into the sofa, broken glass in my palms, bleeding dry, the funniest thing ever, old dogs laughing and snarling on a waterbed floor, mocking the moon for daring to show its face. All nausea and wreckage and vomit and ugly cruelty. The only problem in the world, an empty bottle. Those were the best days of my life. Yeah, those were the best days of my life. I got nothing to hide. I'm ready to face the music. I can see myself for what I am. But you, a cowardly, selfish motherfucker, you can't even see it. I should have been able to protect the kid. If I could have done one thing right, I wish it had been to give him one small chance off this goddamn rock.
Swansea, I'm gonna fix everything. We're going to make it.
Fuck you.
The endless halls winding and circling, the watchful eye of Curly beneath you, and the watchful eyes at every single turn as you circle around almost endlessly as they grow larger and larger. You exit the esophagus cavern of a weird curly-shaped hill. You begin to feed Curly his own flesh. You're doing the right thing, feeding Curly. You are the good guy. You are the hero. You're helping Curly. This is what he needs, after all. You have to take responsibility. You have to take care of it. Jimmy continues to ignore what he did to Anya, only apologizing to Curly for what he did to him. For once realizing that it was his own fault, but claiming he did it because he was trapped. and he had no other way out. Struggling with his own conscience, struggling to accept fault. Once again, he continues to try and run from it. He doesn't once face it. Blind, aimless, and restless.
I want to go home. We are home. Why don't you finish what you started? Don't worry. If anyone ever finds us, I'll still be playing the villain. You'll be the better man in the end. Just like you wanted. I could have stopped it. I'm taking responsibility. We can both be heroes. We're a team. Just you and me, like we used to be. It was an accident. We were trapped. I made a mistake, alright? I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry, Carly.
Jimmy is forced to look for 2 horse fetuses. This is representative of how Jimmy viewed not only Anya, but her baby. He never once viewed them as truly human. He never once viewed them as anything but animals. He jokes that he finds himself sexually attracted to cartoon horses, but that's because he never once even found himself attracted to Anya. He found himself sexually frustrated on a crew of men and 1 woman. So he turned to his urges and forced himself onto someone else, viewing her as nothing but someone to use. Even in this scene here, it shows how little he viewed Anya as a human. Just a monster. A weird amalgamation of polys follows you through the vents. You're unable to escape it. This is what we see the weird mouth-like creature spew out of it before we cut to this scene, representing how at every turn Jimmy wanted to avoid the fact that Anya was pregnant with a child he is responsible for, but it continues to catch up with him no matter how far he runs away from it. Unlike the blind beast, through an endless maze of vents he continues to be caught by this beast until eventually it catches him for the last time. Throughout the entire game we never see any dialogue or subtitles for Polly. But this time, not only does Polly speak directly to us, but he has subtitles that are colored the same as Anya. Once more, Jimmy reduces the child he forced Anya to bear to nothing but a cartoon horse. Polly mocks him for thinking that he is nothing but a poor, caged, and misunderstood man that everyone looks down on without ever truly looking at. He tries to pretend that he is sorry for what he did, but he only apologizes over and over. To Curly. Only to Curly. Not to Anya. Not to Swansea. Not to Daisuke. But to Curly. Polly even points it out to him, saying that if he truly meant that he was sorry, then he wouldn't only concern himself with Curly. If you're truly sorry, then you will actually take responsibility. You will actually take care of things. The same way you told others. You will. Eliminate that 1% of germs left over. And in this moment, you, the villain, turn the hero. You are the martyr you aspired to be. But this isn't the end. The game ends there, but the message feels blurred and unfinished. At the end of it all, the villain realizes that in order to atone for his sins, he must take his own life, sacrificing himself, saving Curly in the process. What makes you a villain? Your past actions? What makes up for those sins? What can fix the problems that seem unfixable? From the title of the game to Curly himself, we see that people often just replace bigger issues with the new shiny, better looking things, washing away their problems, even if they're not all gone. The way Curly says that when he tried to escape, make his life one he wasn't always trying to run away from, he'd find something new to replace it with. When he grew content with something, never finding any issues, he questions if he finally found peace, something he only ever sought while running away from all of his problems. Finding a house, finding a wife, finding a newer, better, brighter looking job. And he continues to do so. We see Jimmy as the villain, believing Curly to be a good guy, misunderstood and treated like trash by Jimmy. But when we dissect Curly, we find that he wasn't without his flaws. Jimmy did something wrong, but instead of doing what was right in the moment, Curly did what he always does. He ran away from it, the fear taking hold of him that what he found to be so perfect might not be at all. He ignored what Anya was suffering from. He ignored her problems. He ignored her, realizing when it was already too late, when he literally couldn't do anything else, that Jimmy was a problem he never took care of. Curly sees the bigger picture. Because of that, 99% clean will always be 100% clean. He can't see that 1% that he knows is there. It drives him mad, but his fear of failure clouds his judgment. In the end, Jimmy was right when he said that Curly's lowest rung of the ladder was their highest, and it was all swept from under his feet, leaving him at the same level as them. The very fear that we see Curly suffering from early in the game, the fear that it could all come crashing down around him, and he'll be left with nothing. A fear that consumes him and torments him. Jimmy knows every single person's downfall and fears and uses them to his advantage through manipulation, using Swansea's broken sobriety to trick him into knocking himself out, allowing Jimmy to get the keys, using Daisuke's fear of being nothing but a disappointment to his parents as a way to get him into the vents into the other side of the door that Anya has locked herself behind. And Anya. She continues to try in every which way to see the better in people. Our worst moments don't make us monsters. But he doesn't manipulate her. Yes, he takes advantage of her and then treats her like she's worth nothing to him. Anya is one of the few crew members other than Jimmy who never mentions anything about their life outside of work. Anya doesn't talk about parents or friends or significant other. In a dev Q&A, they mention how Anya had failed medical school 8 times, continuing to push herself and spend money that she eventually runs out of, which is why she joins the team aboard the Tulpar, which is why Anya is even more devastated when we find out the crew will be left without jobs by the end of their voyage. All of these things about Anya make her a very vulnerable character, but she's still headstrong. Someone who Jimmy knows he can't manipulate or get to do things for him. All of these things make for someone Jimmy can't control, and therefore, someone he has no need for in his life or in his team. But that kind of person is still one to seek control in one way or another. And so he found that. Jimmy struggled for most of his life to find balance and control over it. And the one place he found that he could have it, he became a monster. We see his constant need for control in all his actions, what he says, and how he instantly takes control over the team following the crash he caused. How he lies to everyone telling them it was Curly because Curly can't say otherwise. And how in the very end, he gets to control the narrative. In the very end, he's the one who gets to control how the very story you play is told. And in the very end, he becomes the martyr that he wanted to be by taking his own life, sacrificing himself, allowing Curly to be the only one to live. As Jimmy even said to Curly in the dream, they can both be heroes. But the very truth of which is that neither of them are heroes. Nobody in this story is.
Hi, I just really wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. Now I know you have a couple of questions, like for one, why did it take me almost an entire year in order to put this video out? Because honestly, what's really funny is I wrote this script almost a month after the game came out, and after everybody had ran it dry,
And then I just sat on the video for an entire 6-7 months, maybe. It's closer to 9 months. Yeah, I sat on it for quite a while because I was dealing with a lot of stuff. Look, I don't have a whole lot of free time as a person, and because of that, I don't get to work on a whole lot of videos. And it would be really nice if I could. Like, it'd be really nice if I could, but sadly, I don't get that. I don't get that luxury. Honestly, I was going nuts voicing 4 fucking characters, and I mean, look, I'm not a voice actor. I cannot voice a female to save my life either, so I tried my best. Anyways, with all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching the video. If there's anything that you have to say, please say it in the comments. Let me know how you feel about the video. Let me know if there's anything I missed out on, anything I got wrong. Let me know. Okay? All right. That's all. Again, thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment. Peace.